Welcome to the Winners and Losers Show. Hello, everybody. My name is Hank Thompson. I'm the host of the show. I'm going to be the host of the show until all the podcast episodes are recorded, uploaded, tagged, labeled, and distributed to the masses to help your terrible life be slightly less terrible for an hour or two. That's the theory, anyway. Wait, hold on a second. That's the car. It's a car stopping sound. What? We're back. The show's back. Doing the fucking podcast again here. This is, we've been on a break. We took about a 7 or 8 months break. Let's call it a season. Let's just say instead it wasn't just a guy having yet another one of his annual meltdowns. This was actually an intended break to recoup, get out into the world, live some life, have some great experiences, go out there and learn something, and come back fresh as a daisy, the freshest of all flowers, of course, and raring to do some podcasting again. If only that were true. Not even close, actually. No, it's been a tortured many months about these goddamn podcasting in my life. I've been telling everybody I know about it, talking constantly, hatching plans. I'm going to announce some stuff here about another podcast I'm starting soon. And just doing a lot of soul searching, for lack of a better term. What would be a better term than soul searching? Worm excavating. I feel like I'm more of a corpse that's filled with worms than a container for a soul. But is there a difference, really? I mean, is there? Think about it. So, yeah, the show Winners and Losers has existed since 2010. I rebooted it a year ago as a political thing. Originally, it was just sort of comedians rambling. You can still go back and listen to a bunch of those. I think most of them are still up. I had one dumbass friend ask me to take it down because he was worried about what he said. Hey, fuckhead, you should be. Just like I'm worried about what I said too. We should all be worried. That's the whole point of these days. Is everything is terrifying, and you should be worried. Watch your mouth a little more, okay? I was happy to take down the. I mean, whatever. I'm not trying to point. Okay, nothing. It's all fine. Everything. This show's been around for 10 years, and last year it was a political show, and it still is going to be. But I'm shifting my politics discussions over to another project. That's kind of what I've arrived at, is at least in this last several months. But yeah, I have. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have all kinds of mixed feelings about this whole thing. I've lost track of my ambition, I think. I'm not even sure what my ambition is in this comedy business, this entertainment career as a writer, as a comedian, as a funny person, whatever the hell that means, as a podcaster, which is a career. People do it. It does something, that actually is one of my hopes and dreams. I also want to be a write for shows. I'd like to be a stand-up. I haven't done stand-up in over 2 years. It's horrifying. I'm haunted by it. I can't get rid of it. It's in my brain. I always think about it. I always think of jokes. I miss it. I did it a lot. I didn't do it just like 10 times. I did it, I don't know, 1,500 something. I mean, I did enough to be forever changed and tortured by it. So it's in me. I don't think it'll ever go away. I miss it. I miss having stand-up people around. I really miss the community more than probably anything. But performing is a fucking thrill. It's one of the best feelings when it goes well. There's also all sorts of terrible nightmares to being a stand-up. I'd like to see that come back maybe in some future version of my success. It's unlikely I'm going to climb out of the open mics. I'm almost 40. That's horrifying to say out loud. But I was the old guy at the open mics when I started, when I was 29. So I now, over 10 years into this thing, and it's a fucking curse. It's just terrible. I decided I'm funny and that I could somehow make a career around that trait. And, well, here we are. I'm sitting here on a Tuesday night staring at my computer talking about whether or not I'm funny. So that's how it goes. But hey, you know what? Rodney Dangerfield died drunk and sad. So, some good things might still happen. Where am I going with it? Oh, yeah. So this whole comedy thing, and it's taken me into politics too. I've always been into politics. Work for a political media company, and like it's always been something on my brain. I was one of those weird teenagers who knew about both branches of government. I watched McLaughlin Group as a kid growing up with my dad. But I've been curious and interested in politics and paid fairly close attention since before I could vote. And I've never missed an election, and even in the last midterms, I haven't missed. And I still feel like I don't do enough in politics. I've worked with political kind of podcasting worlds, both at Young Turks and Jimmy Dore, and I've seen some. I was in Bernie Sanders' motorcade actually once. That was fucking amazing. It was really an interesting experience. I'll probably tell one of these days. It's a longer story, but what the hell am I talking about? Oh, so now I'm like shifting into in this Trump era has forced everybody to panic and freak out, or freak out, and then shut themselves off, or turn to their coping skills and their coping mechanisms, which may or may not be healthy. I have a mix of them. I think most of mine are pretty healthy. I try to meditate, try to do some stretching. Let me just quick plug for stretching. Okay, do it. All right. Enough with this exercise crap. You don't need to lift weights. You don't need to do cardio. You don't need to not eat pie. Okay, exercise. Stretch your back, your butt, your legs, your arms, your shoulders, the front of your legs, and your groin area, and you'll never be injured again. I take back what I said about lifting weights and stuff. Actually, I have been stretching a bunch, although a little bit lazy. You kind of get lazy over this stuff. And wow, what a difference! Just tell. I turn around to reach for the sriracha behind me at my computer. It's like I feel like a pretzel. I feel like one of those pretzel men that work for the Circus du Soleil. It's incredible. But results. What's so fascinating? I've had bouts of health in the past, and whenever you're working out, whenever you're one of these inspired people that wants to be sexy and have sex and not feel like shit all the time, your body. I've gotten into working out and exercising and lifting weights or whatever. And I always learn the same lesson I always forget, which is that our bodies love it. They love to be healthy. They love to reward you for the effort, generally. You can get injured, I guess. That's the thing. But, man, all you got to do is try a little bit, and your tits will get bigger and harder. I can bend over easier at stairs. I did this, climbed up this hill that I used to climb up a bunch. Climb is a strong term for that. But I walk up it, and your legs hurt, and you get all sweaty and out of breath. And after like just 4 or 5 weeks of stretching, and it's kind of yoga-ish. I do like a just fat guy yoga, where I'm embarrassed. I can't go to a class. That would be just horrifying. I'm sure there's probably wonderful yoga teachers out there that would have dealt with men in my exact position. They'll be like, "Oh, it's okay. Look at you. You're so kind of tall. You got long legs and shit. And, your mat. It's a hand-me-down mat from when your friend moved out. And anyway, let's get you. It's okay to suck at it. Don't worry about your giant loaf belly folding together, forming a big bulbous thing like those kids' toys when you squeeze and the eyeballs come popping out." I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful yoga teachers out there that would take a fella like me under his or her limber wing. But I'm not. I just emotionally couldn't possibly. It's not a thing. I fart too much. My farts, they're hilarious, but not interested. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, but so I do I look at yoga on Instagram and YouTube. I've gotten some little lessons, and so you learn the little positions. And I'm sure I'm not doing them perfect, but I still get down and use my body weight. And man, it's amazing. Such a good workout. If you're not convinced that yoga is healthy, you could pull your head out of your ass, but you can't because you don't do yoga. So start doing yoga, then jam your head up your ass, and then pull it out, and you'll probably need to brush your teeth. But no, it's wonderful. Like all exercise is great. It's a matter of optimizing based on your goals. So like weightlifting, yoga. Oh yeah, so this is the end of this story. Jesus Christ, this is as bad as the last episode. I listened to the last episode again, kind of getting ready to re-record or to start recording again. And I was like, oh wow, what a rambly nut job. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. That's okay. This is the first one back. I honestly had talked myself out of doing this about 700 times in the last 3 weeks. And about 500 of those times were on the way home from the grocery store as I was heading to do it tonight. But then I hit a moment where I was like, just hit play. I wrote down some things I want to talk about. And we're going to get a little into politics here, but mostly this is just for me to force myself to, do it. I've gotten all these kind of mental blocks in my brain about doing this stuff. That's sort of what I'm trying to talk about. So anyway, I was doing the stretching and the yoga. I went over to this hill. It was like a Saturday morning. I was just awake. It was like 6 o'clock, and I was just like, this is not a going back to sleep kind of awake. And so I made it over there, and I just zipped right up the hill. I was stunned. I wasn't even out of breath. I mean, a little, not like I'm sitting there, watching Daniel Day-Lewis make dresses, dig dresses up out of the ground. And There Will Be Dresses. Great movie, by the way. I hated it when I watched it, but it's stayed with me. And the more I think about it, the more of a brilliant movie I think it is. Although there's probably some issues with the way it's just some old piece of shit guy taking advantage of some young woman. But that old story. So I was, it felt great. My legs felt really strong from just doing like dumb guy yoga and stretching and just working on my, I want to be able to, that this is, I think they call it pancaking, where you sit on your butt, you spread your legs wide. We used to do this in tennis when I used to be a tennis guy in high school. And then pancaking, I believe, is where you like put your shoulders, you just lean forward and you can go flat. Your shoulders, but your face can touch the ground. And I mean, we're all, you try to, reach your toes, you touch your head to your knee if you can. I can kind of force it if I try. But I can't pancake at all. I can't even get my elbows to the ground in that position. It's gross. I can if I like whip it hard, like I like really like bounce my back, but that's dangerous and stupid. So you should be careful. But it works. I've noticed progress, and I haven't barely been doing it. It's not like I'm really on a thing. So there's my advice to everybody. Okay, you don't have to go to the gym if you're feeling like you're not feeling good, not looking good. Just start stretching a little bit. You can even do it at work. You just take a break. Although I have noticed I do it at work a little bit, but I always make sure that I aim my butt crack at the wall, because I know that when I do the forward bend stretch, just to sort of get your don't do it with your knees locked. That's another thing. It's easy to lock your knees and then just you can't really go anywhere. Do a micro bend, just a little bit of bend in your knees, and then you can bend your knees a lot if you want to touch the ground. And that's actually another way to approach the stretching is from the reverse. So you get your knees quite bent, get your hands on the ground, and then like kind of straighten your knees, and sort of you'll feel your hands lift up. But that's another way of straining the tissues. Straining the tissues. That would be a good name for this podcast. Straining the issues, I guess. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying, but stretch. Do it. Oh yeah, point your butt crack at a something that won't get offended. So don't do it at a coworker unless it's a coworker who you really trust. Okay? And then nobody has any of those. So that's it. We're back. We're doing the show again. I hope to keep this going. So here's the kind of plan. The new show is called Perfect Union. Now, I've been privileged and grateful and honored to have participated at the Young Turks as on camera in the Friday post-game show occasionally over the last year or so. And man, it's the best. I just love it. It's just like when you start out a career doing comedy, you kind of just want to be a funny person your whole life or for your whole thing. And then when you get to do a thing where you just sit there and talk and be funny and just share your thoughts, and you don't have to do the editing or the publishing, because everything I've ever done pretty much I also have to do like the pre and the post stuff. Not that I would even mind doing that if I were like it was my living, of course. That's actually my goal. But man, it's awesome doing those. It's so much fun. It's great. And what the hell is this going to do with what I was saying? I don't know. But I mentioned the Perfect Union on there. And so Perfect Union is a show I have conceived. It is in my womb, and it is starting to crown, which means it is almost go time for the birthing process of this podcast. Partially that's why I'm doing this right now. Shake the dust off a little bit and shake the rust off. You shake dust. Yeah, you shake. I guess rust is harder to shake than dust. You got to shake it really hard to get rid of rust. Figure that one out, Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I'm that's going to be sort of what Winners and Losers was the last few episodes, sort of. Like I'm going to sort of pull, like keep the politics over there, Not that there's not plenty to say about politics, but Perfect Union. Also, I wasn't going to use that name originally, but I was talking with a friend, and she kind of convinced me to try something different, and so I came up with this. And it is, I like the name. I think Perfect Union is a good name. There are a couple other shows called like More Perfect Union, like that use that terminology, but it's not exactly that. So it's always a little weird when there's like similar show names or whatever, but I don't think that's violating something. But it's inspired, as you know, the people, those of you that are Americans or American watchers, is in the Constitution, although it might even be the Declaration of Independence. I think I would know this before. Sorry. But the phrase is, in order to form a more perfect union. I like the phrase because America is perfect. It's undeniably perfect. There's no, even at the very, very beginning, they started out perfect and allowed for it to be more perfect, which is not really possible. It's illogical, but if you take it literally, and we should, because what leader of America could possibly misrepresent or mislead or use propaganda or twist words in a way that would benefit a small group over everybody? Certainly not the Founding Fathers. Definitely not. Not Thomas Jefferson. Not him. No way at all. These guys were holy and pure all throughout. Sure, they were rapists and human traffickers and slavers, and they were, the villains in the story of the vast majority of the people on the continent, but they were fathers who founded our great country. And as was written, it's a perfect union. We're just going to get more perfect. So any improvement is more perfect. So that's why we go with the Perfect Union podcast. It centers it in American history and American politics. One area of politics that I paid some attention to, but never really fully understood, and I still shouldn't claim I fully understand it. That's ridiculous. But it's something I now have a greater sense of its context and its importance, is just international affairs and American foreign policy, as well as just like the way that these vast systems of oppression and corruption and capitalism and all these things that are driving the world over the brink, potentially to the extinction of the species, racism. I mean, they're all interconnected. Misogyny, sexism, racism, colonialism, all this stuff is just tied together. And history is not, it's not separate. Like, that's one of the things that kind of is crystallized in my mind, is just how, like, we're living in history, and we're the result of history. We wouldn't be anything. We are exactly what we emerge from. History is the nutrients. It's the tree rings down the branches, if you know what I mean. We're part of the same organism. Its roots are not separated. That's fine. It's separate. Okay. All right. Could do that for the next 20 minutes. So I've been kind of investigating, as if I'm out there asking questions, like Teddy Roosevelt, like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Huh? Did you really have asthma when you were a boy, or is that just all bullshit?" The context is missing. It's one reason they don't teach history very well here, and especially in the realm what I've been looking at lately is in race, and in how America is a straight up fucking terrifying apartheid white supremacy state. Like, the white supremacy is America's founding core. Like, the rebellion, the revolution in 1776 was kicked off partially because of England starting to trend away from slavery, and the founding fathers were slave owners. The majority, 2/3, 3/4 of them were, and the others that weren't, they still operated in a system where they worked with them. They weren't like so strongly opposed that they refused to deal with them. And so the timing was also not just that America was tired of being no taxation without representation, but it was also, we want to continue to exploit people and treat human beings as cattle, as livestock, and Europe is starting to, or England specifically, is starting to move away from that, and we're going to fight that because we benefit from it. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson are fucking scumbags. These guys were slavers. Another thing, and I wasn't even planning to talk about any of this. I was going to talk about airplane pillows. Something that's been pointed. So, let me just finish the kind of thought I was having. It's important to learn about this stuff, and I don't know enough. I'm ignorant. I'm trying to learn. I was educated in America, therefore I'm ignorant. I paid attention in school. I wasn't the best student, but I didn't struggle to get good grades. Generally, I was pretty good at testing, and I did my homework mostly, but I also sort of lazy, just a little out of it, kind of. But I understood the shit that was going on. I generally did okay. I could have done a lot better, but it wasn't like I was confused going through stuff. I was just more like, this is boring, but I'll pay attention anyway, and whatever, So there's so much I don't know. There's so much they don't teach you. There's so much that I want to learn. And that's something I want to use this podcast and Perfect Union as a vehicle for, is to both like educate myself. I want to read. I'm reading the Socialist Manifesto right now, and another book called The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. I want to, and I'm also reading Ryan Grimm's book, We Got People, 3 books in, and, mostly just working on my Rocket League scores. So it's going to be a little bit of a process, but I want to share that kind of knowledge with y'all and also eventually have guests too. Cause it's just me rambling, honestly. Like I this might work. I don't really know. I feel ridiculous. I feel like a silly Billy. And, even, I just had like a major spike of the silly billies right there, right when I chuckled at my own use of that term. But I'm better talking to people. Things are easier. This whole podcasting thing is easier with guests. So I'm going to be reaching out to folks and getting some guests on, and covering the news and the politics and hopefully building an audience. I mean, I did that with Suck Professor. Suck Professor built up to like 70.7K subscribers. Obviously, it was sort of not hit or miss, but sporadic over the last several years, but we built a nice little core group of people. It was very validating, and I feel very proud of the work we did on that, and a little bit sad because I feel like that channel could have gone somewhere. Alas, it was not meant to be. Although I still want to do some news dumps. If you've y'all are Suck Professor listeners, I have this like little animated kind of character of myself, and like a talk show, sort of a news dump thing, and I want to bring back. So it's all kind of part of this effort. I think what really has been going on since last year, I've just been tired and really tired, stressed and depressed and just fucking exhausted. Having a stable job for almost a year now, whereas before I was just barely getting by doing Postmates and freelance editing and freelance animation and get kind of screwed over by a thing. And, my depression was very active. I was getting therapy and doing but I didn't have a full handle on it. And I think just getting a job and then doing this podcast, it just felt like too much. And I kind of just needed to have a job for a while that I knew I was going to have. I could afford my bills, start paying I owe my roommate money, and just sort of feel somewhat normal for a little while. Because I did that shit for like 2 or 3 years, 3 years or so. Before that, I worked for Jimmy Dore, and before that, I also was super poor for like a year, and before that, I worked for the Young Turks. So it's been and I have all sorts of privileges because of my skin color, my penis shape. My genital shape. Being a white male privileges. And I'm very fortunate. My dad helps me with therapy. I honestly, I can't say I wouldn't be here without it, but I'm so grateful that my dad pays for my therapy. I wouldn't be able to afford it without that. So the family I come from offers me some privileges, and I'm not unaware of all that. If I ever really crashed and burned here in LA, I could go home to embarrassed with my tail between my legs, but I have a bed I could go sleep in. I'd probably try to sleep in my car. I was actually considering moving into my car near the end or before I got the recent job. I was starting to plan moving out of LA. I was really thinking about I don't think this is working for me. I was hoping to maybe shift into woodworking. which I'm still doing. I'm going to start selling squatty potties on Etsy. There you go. There's a news flash. That's my plan here. So you'll be hearing more about this. Squatty potty. Oh, my God. That's the thing where you put your feet up so you're squatting on your toilet, basically. Don't disbelieve the hype, okay? Climb up on that fucking thing, and it is really. My brother and I was asking about for some hemorrhoid advice. Not that I think he has any. I think I just outed my brother there. But he said you should use one of those things. And I was like, yeah, I heard of that. I'm pretty sure that's a good idea, but I never bothered. And then finally, recently, on Instagram, I saw a squatty potty. Somebody had made like a chain, like a adjustable height. And that's what got me, like sometimes all you need to, create a mountain, you need a pebble or some crap like that. What is it? The snowflake starts with the snowman toes. I don't know. But I was like, oh yeah, that squatty thing. So then I went and got myself an Amazon box and used that for my first one. And oh boy, life-changing. Oh, perfect. Oh man. Like you ever see a giraffe give birth? Yeah. Google it if you haven't. It's just a big gush. I've been crapping giraffes for weeks now, and I love it. So now I want to build them. It's the perfect woodworking project because I don't have any woodworking. I have a dresser on my balcony. That's my workshop. So I need small projects. It's fun to do. I really love it. So I'll update you as it gets along. My first batch is going to be like just sort of prototype. So maybe you yourself can buy a squatty potty off of me someday. Custom. I'll even sign it. I'll sign it. I'll sign it in urine and poo. No, I'm not. That's terrible. I'm going to be calling it the Bum Rush, though. I've come up with a fun name. Bum Rush. Not bad. I know. So where did I go? Oh, yeah. So just feeling normal, having a job. And I've always owned my own. Before when I lived in Chicago, I owned my own business. So I never really had a boss other than the first time I worked for Young Turks. And now I do again, and not a fan. No offense to any bosses out there, but just some of us handle being told what to do a little differently. Listen, I'm not in there like snarling every time my manager is like, "Hey, you got to do this thing." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's fine, it's all right." But there's that part of you that you're just like, "Ugh, man, it's so fucking weird that some guy or gal says something and then you have to do something." It's just what the fuck? That seems so wrong. And that sort of folds into my kind of recent shifting in my political viewpoint attitude about just capitalism in general. And I'm very much persuaded by socialist ideas and socialist policies, and I want to learn more about it. And Marxism and democratic socialism and true democracy, where people actually have collectively gather to encourage or to improve their own lives and the lives of their communities. This is a theme that we'll be talking about a lot on Perfect Union and on here. It all makes a lot of sense. And I've always instinctively had this feeling about working. I mean, I've had like temp jobs where you have a boss for a few weeks here and there, like that kind of thing. In my early 20s, and I worked at a theater in college, or a movie theater in college for a while. But I always just had this notion, and I had some jobs in high school too, but like, I just had this instinctive feeling summarized by this sentence. Wait, I work and you get money? I'm doing the work and you're getting rich? What? That just didn't seem right. There's something about it. That's the exchange that we all agree to when you have a boss. You do work, they pay you a wage, they keep a percentage of the value you produce. The wage is ostensibly your percentage of the value you produce and that you provide, and off they go. And that works for a lot of people. Doesn't mean it's working well. Keeps your food on your food on and lights on your table. Keeps your phone charged, keeps your budgets up, and some people make decent money and they feel okay, and maybe they're not so stressed by it all, and it doesn't bother them that much. But I think more and more people are starting to figure this shit out, that this is not only is it wrong, but it's also not the only it's not the only option we have. There's nothing natural about capitalism. It's completely just made up by the rich fuckers that always were able to write the rules. So they wrote the rules to benefit themselves. And they're the ones who benefit from it. And by the way, it's not even serving them. They're miserable too. They have their own problems. Human beings are very complicated in all the status anxieties and status seeking and the way people assess stuff. It's all fascinating. It's all interesting. And it's speaks to the way I look at stuff as sort of a system. You know, I've said this on recent episodes, although for me it's been about 9 or 10 months, but it's in podcasting time. It's just a couple episodes back, I think. But, you know, it's all systems. That's why people who deny that America is a white supremacy that functions on uses white supremacy to maintain power in the hands of a few. You're not seeing a system that's so obvious if you just stop and look at it. It's impossible to ignore. But because we're all products of our environment. Like if you're Jewish, you probably have Jewish parents. If you're, you know, not that all religions come that way, but you're a product of your influences, and your influences are the things around you, your culture, and all this stuff. And people that deny, like, individualism is such a weird trick that's been played on society to make everybody think that they are who they are, you know, irrespective of the systems in which they exist. It's like, no, that's the primary thing. Your brain is operating on all sorts of levels you don't even understand that are subconscious and supra-conscious. Is that a word? Supra? That would mean above your consciousness, right? With individualism, you've been taught to not only assume that everything that's good is because of who you are, but that then, therefore, anything that's bad to anybody is because of who they are. And also, though, it trains you to not ask for help. It trains you to not expect help, to not expect your society to do anything for you. And that goes completely against human nature. Human nature is help-driven. We are collective animals. We weren't raised as individuals. A human being alone in the woods is fucking terrified. 2 or 3 human beings in the woods, now you're having a threesome. Maybe you're filming it for Instagram, okay? Maybe you meet one of those Instagram porn stars that are just like filming it themselves for some reason. No, I'm not, see, way off. But humans are group animals. We evolved solving problems by communicating, and our brains developed these huge, incredible power of communication, so much so that we lost physical advantages other than stamina. And, I don't know, our hair. Hair is probably nice because the babies can hold on to the hair. Long-haired cavemen. But we're just so deeply wired for altruism and for helping people. And I'm not saying like I'm out there fucking saving the world. You know, I'm doing a solo podcast all by myself. It's redundant, as if that's the only behavior. But it's not an accident that helping someone makes you feel good. That they say it's one of the best things you can do for your mental health and for like just fulfillment in life in general is to offer service to others, especially those who don't have much. And I think I need to step up on that sense. I don't do that. I should be doing. I've donated some money here and there, but I feel like deeply inadequate for it. And I don't think it's wrong to even say like part of my motivation is so I feel better, because that's how the mechanism works. But that's an evolved response to group evolution, where we all evolved as these groups of animals that, you know, 5 humans together is an extremely powerful organism sharing consciousness, not in a hippy-dippy way, but we experience each other's consciousness because we have empathy, which means we can simulate another's viewpoint. And when it's a tight-knit group, you all kind of share the same viewpoint. It's why people join cults. It's why religion has such a durability in society. It's why people get into these right-wing groups that seem insane. These Proud Boys, these alt-right groups, these fucking even becoming a fan of a show, you kind of identify yourself with it, with a group of people who have a similar viewpoint, a similar experience, and that's because we desperately need these to feel normal. And I can say that because I've felt like an outsider most of my life. I've never really felt like I belonged to anything, and I mean, I've had moments and times, but I've never felt that a very strong sense of I have a group looking out for me. I'm going to be okay. I mean, you do in some ways, and your family's there, and blah blah blah. But it's extremely unhealthy. It's also why, like, there's been research about loneliness showing that loneliness causes pain, but also leads to outcomes like early death and the stress response that you get from it, and it messes up your sleep, and there's like actual physical consequences to loneliness that are on par with like smoking or something like that, as far as determining the statistics of that. So it's interesting. I think it's fascinating. But the idea that we're supposed to just be all by ourselves, individuals, that every single good thing in your life is because of the specific traits of yourself. I'm not saying that people don't have unique traits, or that people aren't different, or that people shouldn't celebrate diversity in whatever ways they're different. That's what, my politics. I'm not afraid of people that are different. Although, to be truly honest, I probably am, because I grew or was raised in a racist culture. I listened to an interview the other day with I think it was on the Anna Marie Cox podcast with Friends Like These, with a fella, I don't remember his name, but he was speaking about that, about racism and anti-racism, and he introduced the phrase to me, anti-racism, which is a state. I know I'm getting this wrong, so there's not something I should be quoted on, but it's where you examine your own bias, and you're supposed to look at your own. You're supposed to take an active role in rooting out, or at least being aware of the way racism affects you in your life. Not like the way the way it's in you, the way it's a nutrient in society. And so, because he was talking about how people that deny racism, they say, "Oh, I'm not racist," and then that's the end of the conversation, and there's no more interrogating what that means. And this guy's point, he was an academic, he was a very thoughtful guy, but I just was quite persuaded by the idea that there's racism and there's anti-racism, because saying you're not racist is sort of bullshit. Like, is anybody really not racist? They have absolutely no kind of response to seeing someone different than they are. They've been completely unaffected by the dominant trait of a society that has yet to reconcile its diversity, its differences, its melting pot that we're supposed to be. Well, we're nowhere near melted enough. Eventually, we'll all be a medium brown. We're going to bang our way out of this mess, but we're going to kill ourselves with global warming first. So interracial marriage, interracial fucking, all for it. White, here. I did a little painting, okay? I've seen Bob Ross. Titanium white. Oh, they just gave it a nice coating of titanium white. It's a good base. White's a nice base color. So you start with the white, you add a little splash of color, and now you have the whole rainbow opens up to you, and you can do all the 18 million colors that the RGB light bulbs promise. And so we need to fuck the white people out of this world, is my point, all right? Get rid of them with sex. That's a nice way to do it. It's a nice base color. Mix the rest in. And all the colors are beautiful. Let me just be clear about that, all right? Let's see, this is the kind of stuff that is quotable or misquotable. So that's where we're at. I'm just rambling here. So back to doing it. It's starting to settle in a little. Feels nice. I do look forward to having guests and talking to people. It's a strange time to be alive. It's hard to be alive. One thing I hope to accomplish, or at least connect with people on, is just like, how you doing? How you handling this Trump era? For those of us that pay attention and care, like I would love to try not even minding it at all. Like those people are just like, oh, Dick Cheney's the president. Like, that kind of person is just like, Iraq, I don't know, freedom. We got to fight them over there, right? I think, I don't know what the Price is Right is on at 10 a.m. And they're like, no, that schedule. I would love to try that out. I just don't. There's no going back. I do have to take breaks, like from Twitter particularly. I find myself getting a little obsessive compulsive with it. I can tell, like, the kind of like, oh, what's on Twitter? Like, oh, I got 2 seconds. I can check Twitter on my phone. So I have deleted it off my phone, and then I sign in through the app or through the browser. So I got to sign out of that again. But like, it's important to get away from some of this stuff and just to settle back. Part of me feels like I have this obligation, not just because of where I work, but like my own interests, and I want to talk about this stuff as a professional, as a podcaster, as a comedian. But because everybody needs comedian opinions, not enough of those out there. I started this in 2010, so all you comedians that started after that. You keep at it. It's fine. Who cares? What are you supposed to just all stay mired in the past, carrying around car phones, 40-pound batteries? Of course not. This is the scary, fucked up future that we're all going to do while we don't have any skills for the apocalypse. You'll be brains. You'll be turned into brain soup. Your skull will become someone's bowl, and it's gonna get stepped on by a marauder outside your gas station fortress. Okay, that's what's gonna happen. So just keep podcasting away, everybody, until it all falls apart. I'm good at building fires. So, I stack them up, make the little triangles, make the little squares, give it room for oxygen. So I'm hoping to be like the guy who makes fires. And I can't throw away plastic forks anymore, so I'm going to have a lot of silverware. Not that metal won't still be around during the apocalypse. But anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? Yeah, I don't remember. I could listen, but whatever. So I was saying, like, this podcast will probably be less consistent, I'm going to guess. I've had a hard time doing one podcast, so now I'm going to be doing two, and I'm actually hoping to start another thing at work with some other people, which will hopefully not be too much. Like, I don't want to do everything myself for that one, but that's going to be yet another thing that might take up some time. But it's worthwhile. I think it actually would be a lot of fun. One of the things that's been a struggle for me in doing this again, aside from the usual kind of dichotomy, is that the right word? I don't know. Juxtaposition of in a comedian who has low self-confidence, but I also have I have high confidence on humor, although I think an objective assessment is it doesn't work well in the solo format, or at least maybe it's better with people as opposed to solo. But that's okay. Maybe this is actually fine. I don't know. I mean, I've listened to those solo shows, and they don't say funny shit like giraffes and stuff. They don't say that at all. Tom Hartman never talks about giraffes. He should. If you listen to my emails. But in order to do anything creative, yes, I'm calling this creative, but it's an expression of art. That's even worse than creative. But we're trying to say something. I kind of have a wide net with the word art. I think everything is it's just anything that's unnecessary is art, sort of. Meaning it's an art. I don't know, an article. No, fuck it. The word art's there. Maybe it's short for art icicle. Ever think about that? Probably not. But it's an attempt to be heard. And it's an attempt to make sense of some kind of, I don't know if it's chaos or some sort of incongruity in your mind, in your feelings, in the way you're saying something. And that goes for radio, which is what this is. Political commentary, comedians just trying to be funny, but also the visual arts, sculpture, and hanging stuff from the ceiling and doing all kinds of cool crap with wood. People, even just conventional painting. Oh, that's right. I was saying titanium white mix. Yeah, I know. I already talked about that. But it's all just an attempt to be heard, and to be hopefully understood. It starts to get a little messy when you bring money into the equation, because money is corrupting. Money is a necessary evil, I think. I really find money to be, I don't know why the word unholy is coming into my mind, because holy institutions are all about money, generally. Human ones, as if there's some other kind. But, so, also money can be motivating in a way that's not necessarily terrible either. It's because it's distasteful doesn't mean I don't want money. I would love to have more money because I'd like to have less stress, and to be able to experience some of the world in ways that I am not able to. I don't think that's a crazy thought, but there's a lot of doubt, and the doubt can get very persuasive. it's one way I would describe depression. Not that it's easy to pin down, but one of the things about depression is that you trust it, and it tells you you're powerless. It tells you you can't do anything, you can't fix this, you have no power. It's maybe not that direct, but part of the reason it can have such a devastating effect is that you trust it. You believe it. Because it's you. It's deep inside. It's core stuff coming out. And that's some advice I try to offer. Not that I'm in any great position. My depression has been present since I was a child, but I've been, I've dealt with it in ways that were pretty unhealthy and also ways that are more healthy. And recently I am in a more healthy part of this process. But I don't even think it's sensible to try to suggest you shouldn't trust it at all. That's too much change too quickly. It'd be nice if you stopped trusting it, so go for it. But trust it a little bit less. Just give yourself permission to trust it a little less. You can do that. You can drop your trust like 5%, 10%. Just your depression is telling you how much of a piece of shit you are or whatever. Nobody will ever love you. You'll always be alone, blah, blah, blah. Everything is terrible. It's never going to work. It's just, and it sucks your energy out, and you're it can be physically painful. It can have all sorts of other health problems, sleep issues, whatever. But it's that belief that you have no power. And that's where the hope comes from, is this idea that both you deserve to be better and that you can somehow influence the possibility of being better. So it's a lie. Not that depression itself is a lie, but depression is lying to you. So don't trust it so much. Try not to trust it 100%. That's a lot, though. That's hard to do. So just trust it like 5% less. Think of it, give it a face, make it a stranger, make it some jerk on the street. You're like, why am I trusting that guy? That weirdo with the gray tooth. The guy who, for some reason has a giant Adam's apple that has a good tan with the George Clooney tattoo on his shoulder. Don't trust that guy. He's lying to you. All right. Nice. Look, we solved it. We solved talking depression. All right, let's talk about, just wrap up the podcasting kind of thing. And then I'll get a couple of topics. So, winners and losers, I want to kind of, I don't know. I want it to be sort of supplemental to Perfect Union. Perfect Union is going to be like the news stories where I go, oh, can you believe this Trump fucker? Oh, goddamn Mitch McConnell, oh, stupid. Here, Amy McGrath and what DNC, fucking Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Could there be two worse people on the planet than Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer for the situation we're in right now? These cowards. They're very, by the way, anybody that says they're bad at their jobs doesn't understand politics. They're excellent at their jobs. Their jobs are to serve their donors. Their jobs are to prevent progressives from making things uncomfortable for their donors. They're very good at their jobs. And they also distribute funds. They decide how to allocate resources. Rahm Emanuel had that job, the DCCC, I think it was, or the DN. I mean, there's the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Campaign Committee, the DCCC, whatever. I'm crossing my streams here, but like they have so much influence on who runs for offices, and they work with recruiting, and they work with fundraising, and they're just corrupt. It's a straight up fucking corruption. It looks normal. America, we call that politics as usual. It's corruption. But don't think Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are bad at what they do. They're villains in a story. They're just on the side. They're slightly better than the Republicans. That's not true. Republicans are so bad. Conservatism is a scourge on humanity. So I'll take Pelosi and Schumer over them, but they're not worried about anybody but their donors and the appearance of them. The only degree that they might seem concerned about regular people is performative, because it's necessary for them to maintain their positions. This sham democracy we got here. Let's check in with President Trump real quick. It's too loud. Sorry. I clicked it twice and it didn't play for the first time. So, I clicked it once, it didn't play. Then I did it twice. All right, see it. I'm a little off my game here. Shut up, Enya. You're going to make me cry.
I liked beer.
Yes. See? Kavanaugh liked beer. Hey, is anybody excited to vote for Elizabeth
Warren?
Yeah. Well, I'll be excited to vote for her if she gets the nominee, but I'm hoping it's Bernie. That's a big discussion, isn't it? The Bernie versus Warren people. I'm thrilled that two progressives, yes, they're not the same kind, but they do stand out as progressives, have such a command. And this fucking Joe Biden, I'm enjoying it. I was tweeting way back before, before he had announced, early part of 2019, just how much I wanted him to run because it would degrade his legacy. He would embarrass himself. He's a gaffe machine. All his sniffing and groping young girls is going to come out, and his terrible record. And I was really looking forward to watching it all play out. And I've been right. Mostly, I think I'm right. Now, it's scary because he still polls so high, and I think that's just a matter of name recognition. But it's astonishing that guy, this moron, he's been the wrong, to go from Trump to Biden is like your house just burned down because you built it out of matches. So let's build it out of matches. Let's just do the exact same stupid-ass kind of politics that got us to where we are. This bullshitting, backslapping, hair-sniffing, gropey, grabby, fuck-faced Joe Biden, who has been on the wrong side of the issues for his entire career, particularly on issues of race, on things that matter to me, like, looking out for the little guy, the little girl, the small people in the world, the underrepresented workers, the people who actually produce the value of society. And Joe Biden is just one of these scumbags. I was going to play him. He did this thing where he used his dead children to try to suggest that we don't deserve Medicare for all. He was talking about how without, I don't know, that just feels so distasteful. It's just so gross. It's not distasteful that I would play it. It's distasteful that he actually did it. All right, okay. Well, let's just play this real quick. And then I got to talk about airplane pillows, and I'll say goodnight. Here we go.
I was sworn into the United States Senate next to a hospital bed.
Okay, great black and white photos.
My wife and daughter had been killed in a car crash.
It's tragic.
Lying in that bed were my two surviving little boys. I couldn't imagine what it would have been like if we didn't have the health care they needed immediately. 40 years later, one of those little boys, my son Bo, was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Bo was in the military.
And given only months to live.
I think he was a DA. I think he was a politician, or he became an attorney after his military career.
I can't fathom what would have happened if the insurance companies had said for the last 6 months of his life, you're on your own. The fact of the matter is, healthcare is personal to me. Obamacare is personal to me. When I see the president try to tear it down and others propose to replace it and start over, that's personal to me too.
Okay, so he's equating Trump and the Republicans tearing it down, and they'd be happy to just not give anybody any health care and just let them all die. It's more or less what we've been doing. But he's equating that with others who are suggesting starting over and rebuilding or replacing it. Those aren't the same things. One side says the ACA is fine, but it doesn't go far enough, and we could do a lot better, just like they do all over the world. And Americans produce an incredible amount of worth for their country. They deserve a healthcare system that reflects that. And here's our plan. That's what one side is saying. The other side is the Republicans, which say that they would bring back, preventing or pre-existing conditions and all the ways that for them it's just this big giveaway, this big scam. And Obamacare was a right-wing idea anyway. It came out of the Heritage Foundation. It's something Mitt Romney tried in Massachusetts. So Joe Biden's defending a right-wing healthcare system here. It's ridiculous. That's a side point. The main thing is, what the fuck do his dead kids have to do with the healthcare system? He said that if the insurance companies had said no in the last 6 months. So in this ad, And by the way, the tweet, it reads, "This ad wasn't easy for me to record. Healthcare is personal to me, deeply personal." He acknowledges that it was up to the insurance companies to whether or not his children got to die with dignity because of their, their tragic. Bo died of cancer, the guy who grew up, and then his other kids died. One kid, I think, died in a car crash with his wife. Those are tragic. I'm not making fun of that. I'm not trying to make that part of this. Other than the fact that I think it's disgusting. And I did see an article, which I have yet to verify, that he leaked the announcement of one of the timing of one of these things is a little shady, and I don't know enough about it. And I'll just give him the benefit of the doubt. Politicians have to be careful about the way their own personal lives get revealed to the public life, because that's a weird facet of that job. So maybe there's a reason why it's fine. I don't know enough about it. Because I don't know about it, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'll look into that a little bit later. But he's using his dead children to say that you don't deserve health care. You don't deserve the kind of health care other countries get because Obamacare is personal to him. Oh, that's right. Then there was a case where okay, here it is. The Twitter's great. So someone wrote, this is the DC, no. Non-Bonadicta. Feels weird just picking randos on the internet. Wrote, whoa. Biden wrote in Promise Me Dad, I think that's his memoir, or maybe it's a memoir of Bo's death or something like that Bo's family struggled to pay for his medical care and that Obama paid it for them. So Joe didn't have to take out a second mortgage on his house. This was published in 2017. And then there's a link here. I'll read this. This is from a Kindle screenshot. This is Joe Biden writing. In the 16 months since that week we got the diagnosis, I'd been careful not to reveal the true desperation of Bo's situation to anyone outside the family, not even to the president. Barack had inklings that Bo was struggling, but he never pressed for details, and I didn't bring it up often. But in the middle of 2014, when Bo's aphasia was getting worse, he worried that his illness might eventually affect his cognitive capability. And knowing Bo, Hunt and I became, I think he has a son named Hunter, and I became concerned that he might feel honor-bound to resign before his term as Attorney General was over. I said DA, he was Attorney General. The only income he had at that time was his salary. I told the president about this at one of our private lunches. Well, what are you going to do? He asked. Well, he doesn't. Let me do it in Obama voice. Well, what are you going to do? Well, he doesn't have much money, but we're okay, I said. Jill and I can take out a second mortgage on our house in Wilmington if we have to. We'll be fine. Don't do that, Barack said, with a force that surprised me. Oh, don't do that, motherfucker. I could see him getting emotional. Then he got up out of his chair and walked around behind me and put his hands on my shoulders. Yes. Smells good. Biden smell good. No, that's not what Obama said. All right, here's Obama. I'll give you the money. I have it. You can pay me back whenever. Why am I doing that? I'll give you the money. I have it. You can pay me back whenever. I can do a decent Obama. I'm just not a little out of practice these days. So Obama paid for it, according to Biden. But in his ad he just pulled or made, he didn't. The ACA was there for him and his family, and that's what he wants to keep because it was so good to him during his family tragedy. We don't all have that, Joe. Fuckhead. So, I mean, it's bullshit. And by the way, how sad is it that this guy, I mean, nobody should have to suffer for any medical reason, no matter what your level of income is, no matter how much value you have, or like wealth. The poorest person should be able to get full treatment at any hospital at any time in a nation with the kind of resources that we have, in a planet with the kind of resources we have. To me, that's a disgusting truth about our entire planet, especially America. But let's take this example. This guy's an attorney general. His father is the vice president, and even to them, the bills are too much. If we're to believe what Joe wrote in this passage here. His dad's been a senator for decades, vice president of the United States. He's an attorney general, and his family is struggling under the weight of these healthcare costs. That's an indictment of the system, if I've ever heard one, aside from the fact that it's Joe contradicting himself with this ad. So anyway, Joe Biden, you're on notice there, pal. Okay, I know it's probably he sees the world through blood colored eyeballs, doesn't he? Should have paused and written that one out. The bleeding eye thing, that was fun. Boy, that actually helped me get this podcast going, because I saw that in news on my phone and I was like, God damn it, I don't have a way to talk about the guy's bleeding eyes. His eyes are bleeding. I just want to know he's doing it on purpose. Okay, just let us know it's like a thing. He's like an X-Man. Like maybe that's how he, makes the world better somehow. Like, you know how like Candyman has to spit up bees? No, wait, that's not Is that Candyman? Does he do the bees? The Green Mile. The Green Mile guy's got to spit up the bees. So maybe Joe Biden's, somebody out there, something nice is happening, but in order for it to make it happen, Joe Biden's eyes are bleeding. Or perhaps we just shouldn't elect this guy who's got a rotting brain, who he forgot President Obama. He said, President, my boss, is what he said in a gaffe, one of his many. He will get trounced by Trump. I don't know. I mean, I still actually think Biden would win. I think it'd be dangerously close. But if anybody has a chance of losing, it's Biden and Klobuchar. She's terrible. But Biden is fucking the worst possible person we could be putting up in this fight right now. Anybody would beat the crap out of Trump. Warren or Sanders will just demolish Biden. I think Kamala Harris would demolish Biden. I'm glad that she's not doing well. I find her record as DA in California pretty disturbing, but I think she's got a lot of political skill and traits that would probably do a lot better in a different context than where we're at now. And so I'm kind of glad that she's not doing as well. And it's still very early. She might still bounce back up. But Biden is at the height of irresponsibility. He's got tons of baggage, a record that's terrible, all sorts of quotes, proud to work with segregationists, proudly instrumental in mass incarceration in the 90s, in the crime bill, calling young black men and women predators. Now, he didn't use the word super predators, I don't believe. I know Hillary did. And these are the people that the Democratic Party is putting up. But I've seen a lot of reports that people, insiders of the party, people that are in the know, that should know better, they can tell. They know this guy's past his prime. He's had 2 flame-out campaigns before, and I really hope that what we're watching is his third one, because we're fucked if this guy gets into office. We're fucked if Bernie gets into office. Let's be honest here. Bernie has done an enormous service to the world in maintaining his positions over the years, being the stalwart. Oops, bumped my mic. Being a stalwart defender of the little guy over all that time, and it was an extremely unpopular position to hold. And he's moved so many of the other Democratic candidates in his direction. In that sense alone, he's already accomplished more than almost anybody ever really has. But as president, he'll be obstructed. They're terrified of him. They're so scared of him. That's why they're sort of lining up. I think that the MSNBCs of the world and what they represent, the corporate interests they represent, the political establishment, the Democratic political establishment, they know that there's a progressive movement here. They see the energy behind the squad. I hate that term. But behind AOC and Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and some of the other ones, Katie Porter, although she's sort of an elitist technocrat, but I really like her. I think she's great. Ro Khanna does a good job as a Justice Democrat. But the energy's behind the progressives. And it's reflected in the polling. It's reflected in the policies. So they're lining up behind Warren. I mean, I'm going to get into a lot of this over the next little while, too. Not in this show, but it's interesting. It's fascinating to watch. And I'm looking forward to Joe flaming out. I still think he will. I would suggest, I've heard Sam Cedar host of the Majority Report, a show I listen to regularly, say like, one or two or more debates and he's probably done. There will be a time where it tanks. It'll be fast. He's not going to take like he's down 2 points and then like 3 weeks later he's down another 2 points. It's going to be like, he's down 2 points, and then there'll be one day where it's like, people will withdraw their endorsements of him. His donor base will dry up, and he'll be just tanked down. Because once that switch gets flipped, the media just sort of goes right along with it. And then they'll line up behind Warren, or they'll try to resurrect one of the lower tiers like Buttigieg or Harris. I think that either of those have a lot of upside potential. Probably more like Harris should be the kind of de facto nominee for the establishment compared to Buttigieg, because that guy, he's so young. He's got a long career ahead of him. He's just sort of proving himself fit for the national stage at this point. So it wouldn't make sense to blow their whole wad on that guy right now. All right. Well, airplane pillows. I don't have anything to say. They're not designed correctly. Those circle things around the neck, they're annoying. I like having one, but it's just a pillow that you have to fold around and bend around to fit your shoulder or something. I don't know why we don't have better airplane pillows. They're good for the middle seat, I got to say. I lost my little note there where I had that written out. Guys, GoFundMe.com/John Bolton. Let's do what we can to help him out. This guy he's lost his gig. He'll be doing Postmates. So GoFundMe.com/John Bolton. Give what you can. Do your part. Maybe take some out of your Meghan McCain fund, which you've been, on the same team as me. You should have been giving to Meghan McCain. GoFundMe.com/Meghan McCain. She needs it too. So John Bolton needs your help right now. JK. The motherfucker's just going to become a lobbyist. He's probably already a gazillionaire, millionaire asshole, and he's just going to live in a nice house with mature trees and probably have a nice life. I hope he chokes on his mustache and dies. Piece of shit. Fucking violent sons of bitches. These stupid monsters. That's all I got. I got more to say. What the hell? I had a sheet of stuff I was going to say there, but that's fine. We don't need all that. Thanks for listening. At Hank_Thompson on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube. Pay attention to keep your ears peeled, your eyes peeled, your tomatoes peeled, your key and peeled. Humor. I'll have some announcements and some more stuff coming up, and I'm gonna be doing this. I would love to be like a daily show, not to do it every day. I should just do that. Just fucking go full speed forward. Like, you do that thing where your body, your mind, or you just know you're not living the life you're supposed to be living. Not that the life I'm supposed to be living is a daily show, but where you're just like, I think there's something different that makes more sense. And it just takes the guts to do that, and I don't have that right now. So it may be someday. I don't know. This is all a process. Messy, stupid, silly one. And I'm trying to get, we're trying to do it. So I'm going to get into, fucking Dark Crystal. Holy crap. Don't worry, no spoilers. But, man, wow. What a show. I'm into it. I bet it was fun. I just think it was great to work on that, to like make cool stuff and then move the camera around while a bunch of people are putting their hands in puppets' butts and making stuff happen. Seems awesome. So, but I'm enjoying that show. And, next time we'll talk about more stuff. That's one thing, too, like with Suck Professor, it was sort of about pop culture and shows. And like Winners and Losers, we'll talk about like video game stuff and cultural shit. Shows we're watching, The Family. I'm in the middle of watching that right now, and books that we're going to get into. And, there's the political stuff is going to mostly be on Perfect Union, but it's impossible not to bring up politics, especially the kind of inquiry I like to do, which is just like, wow, why is everybody so fucked up? Like, why is it all like this? How did things get like this? Why did they make that decision? Why is this group behaving that way? Those are the types of angles that I can't avoid. So anyway, that's all I got. I love you so much. I'm vamping while I load up my thingy here to play the songs. There it is. So, here we go. Not that one.
Captain's log.
Yes.
Stardate 54274.
I never understand the star dates. It sounds like they're saying some different ones every time. Cool. Thanks for listening, everybody. I love you so much. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And sorry for letting everybody down. If I did let anybody down, I'm going to let you up real soon. Good night. Take care. And I love you.